the letter that was sent out by your legal is null and void with us, okay?
Right.
We cannot act on that legally as law enforcement officers, okay? She's now a deeded resident, okay? They're saying if she makes a disturbance in the meetings, then you can ask her to leave. And then if she refuses, then I can take over and give her trespassing from the sheriff's office, okay? That's where that stands from our legal department. I say we just bury what the past is and move forward from here, okay? If we can remain a harmonious community, then that's our best course of action, okay? I don't want to get anyone in a lawsuit, because that letter that was sent out was basically the homeowners association, and we have no legal binding, or the state would, I mean, the sheriff's office would be sued if we acted on that that document.
We have grounds to ask her to leave the building as the property owners and through previous egregious issues.
Yeah,
Correct?
you just don't want to be involved as the officer who takes her.
Yeah,
You can't. You don't have the authority to do so at this point.
Not at this point.
Right.
Okay,
And
unless she continues to cause a disturbance and disrupts the meeting today, if she's asked to leave and
No,
she
that makes
refuses,
sense.
and if she refuses to do so, then I can take control, as arbitrary law enforcement. Then I can go out here and get my trespass warning, issue a trespass warning, have you sign it, and then escort her out.
And how about for previous violations?
There's,
Max?
you can't.
For him as the office,
Right.
as the sheriff's office.
Well, I
acting
understand.
on
I
it.
understand that position. How about the leave the meeting?
No, I mean, I think then we'll just pursue it civilly.
Okay. Are you going to? You have. You're recording me. You have made misstatements in the past that you are a deeded homeowner. We have numerous testimonies from a wide variety of people, not just Mr. Mullins, a wide variety of people, that you have made that comment. You've also made it in front of me, board president, North Shore Lake Heart, HOA, I'm speaking please. You've made it in front of our treasurer. You've made it in front of past board members. You've attended meetings for as long as I've been attending meetings with no position to attend meetings, no formal place. You've been asked numerous times, and every time, we have people that will give sworn statements that you were a deeded homeowner. You could have completely tainted our entire election from voting as a member per our bylaws. Affidavit by both First Service that you were not a member, by the Executive First Vice President, Fernando Dominguez, that you were not a member, and the only way to be a member was to be deeded homeowner. At the time in the fall that Mr. Dominguez asked you to leave, you had stated that you were a deeded homeowner. Then he went back and checked the records while we were here, the property manager, and you were not on the deed, and you were asked to leave.
Never. Never happened.
Okay, well, look, we have more
Wait,
than
let me just say something.
enough statements.
Let me just say something. I will definitely take a lie detector test to prove what I'm saying. Okay, now the night of that last election, when they sat in the corner with your group, Chuck was there, Chuck's wife was there, and they come running up with the paper, I'm not on the deed. Fine, I'm not here as a homeowner, I'm here as a proxy person. Okay, they told me I'm not on the deed, I would have to leave. And I said, show me in writing where it says that, and I will leave.
We have it in writing, and it was
Okay,
shown to.
Chuck's wife is not on the deed.
Chuck's wife was not at that meeting.
Yes,
Chuck's
she
wife
sure was.
She was home with the
We're
baby.
not gonna
No.
argue.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
She was here.
we're just talking about you. You said
Okay.
you were, I'm sorry,
Never.
don't cover the camera up.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
the one. That's the
I'm
one.
sorry.
You're talking to the camera. You said that you were a deeded homeowner.
Never.
And our bylaws specifically say that the only person that can vote and attend meetings is a member. And the definition of a member is a deeded homeowner. You could have tainted and ruined our entire election and months of work and tens of thousands of dollars of expense.
Did you throw out my proxies?
They're stored for 10 years as required. Fortunately,
Mine weren't thrown out because you just
because you stated at the time you were a deeded homeowner.
Never.
And we went back. because there's a time lag on that. You did. I heard you myself, ma'am. I
Well,
heard
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm going
Okay,
to,
well, we have numerous people that heard you.
I have affidavits,
And
so.
we have
I'll-
affidavits.
I don't care,
That's what
I
I'm
call him a liar.
so-
I'll take a
okay.
lie detector
People-
test. I will
Listen,
definitely.
Listen, that's passed, it's over.
Would they?
It's
know.
passed, it's over with. My concern is as deputy sheriff, okay, not even as a homeowner, just a deputy sheriff right now. Can we continue with the meeting
I'm not
with
doing
no
anything.
disruptions, and we can get through, and whatever comes forth from a civil matter from their attorney and from the board can be handled with your attorney and you at a later date. Right now, let's get through the meeting.
Am I allowed to ask questions as a
I'm
homeowner?
gonna ask you to ask questions in a civil and polite manner, which you have not done always in the past.
Can we just please harmoniously get through this
Yeah.
meeting? Okay?
Yeah.
And not
I know.
cause me as a deputy to have to do his job, but also as a homeowner here that has vested interest in everybody.
And we are completely comfortable with our position. We have numerous
That's good.
affidavits from a wide variety of people that have all heard you say it. Plus, there were recordings to the meetings, as you know.
Yes, I know, we'd have a lot of them.
Good. Good.
Okay.
Good.
I mean, so, you
Continue.
know.
Okay.
Good.
Go ahead.
Yeah. She did really well, like, the years.
I'm here. No, I'm staying here.
What does that say?
Wait a minute, I gotta make sure. I have disturbed numerous meetings, and they have a lot of documentation of people, and I said, yeah, I want to see everybody lives in your street, right? But I didn't. I was pretty good. So,
I guess he's not happy.
huh?
He's not happy. You didn't get him a tape.
I don't know where he went.
I hope you gave him just in case I was gonna tape it and I was gonna upload it to the TV station.
Oh,
So you're okay?
I was ready to go. And I'm
You like the heat? I'm sorry, you like the heat? Please. Every year like this, you either put up with it or you.
Now, I gotta get statements from them.
What are the bad ones? Is it all
Well,
the
we
bad
won't
ones?
have that recording.
Yeah, because it's just so humid as well, because you got the thunderstorms and stuff like that, that the humidity just is 100%, then you got the
Yes.
heat that's right there, you know, 96.
They said we should
97,
harmoniously
98.
take care
And
of
after it
things.
rains, it's
So am I allowed to ask questions in there? I mean, I'm a homeowner.
Well,
Yeah, I just can't disturb. What do you call disturbing?
being quiet this time would probably be in order. You'll notice I didn't say a damn thing.
Oh, I told the cop up there, I said, I am willing to get a lie detector test. Are they? Especially the one behind us.
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I mean, I don't know, but I don't.
Yeah, and then across, so she's got that.
Good. As long as he does me.
You guys done?
Yeah.
You saying that makes me think I don't know, so maybe I don't.
We'll talk about it. Hey, Mike, before you stepped out, we were having a long discussion about parking, and I know you can contribute quite a bit to that conversation. We know we have a parking issue, and it's really more an access, and it's particularly for emergency vehicles. Some people insist on parking opposite from each other in a manner that's too narrow, and we're afraid that emergency vehicles may not be able to access the community. We have to do something about it. So the alternatives that have been presented to us so far is no street parking, alternate side of the street parking by month, no overnight parking. Can you kind of pipe in a little bit on your recommendations and what you see from other communities, what we can enforce, what is reasonable, but also what brings us the degree of safety that we need?
I agree with the egress ingress on, when we have two neighbors that park right here, the choking of that artery right there.
The parallel, yes.
Would be very difficult for a fire rescue or ambulance to get, in or out. Especially if there's someone in grave danger or need of emergency vehicles. I have seen the no parking in a lot of communities. But I think what works best for everybody, if there's no parking on the streets, I mean, of course, it's gonna piss somebody off, and it's gonna make some others happy. But a good medium would probably be no parking on one side, on certain days, and then parking on the other side on, you know, like say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on one side.
Yeah, we think we're gonna
Tuesdays.
do it by the month, make it easy for people to remember. You know, people who aren't from New York City don't know alternate side of the street parking. But we might be able to do it by month. You were gonna say something?
No, I think the biggest problem I see in Sparrow Landing is weekends. Weekends, people park all over. If you had an emergency situation, I don't know how you get anything through that. So I mean, somewhere we have to get them on one side
And that's
of
on
the
both,
street or the
yeah,
other.
one side.
One side of the street or the other, I mean, that's.
So it's either, you know.
Murray, you wanna say
And I
something
think,
on this?
and I think in Sparrow Landing, you can do one side of the street, because there's on the back side of Sparrow Landing, there's,
Some reserve, some common area.
yeah, there's really no homes, and on the east side of Sparrow, there's only, you know, driveways on the east side, and on the west side, it's just easement. So I think if you could do the inside loop parking and have the outside loop no parking.
Yes, that's good. Maria, what were you
So
gonna say?
Mike, in
You're
our
from New York.
cul-de-sac, we have an issue.
Yeah, you do.
I mean,
too.
there's no parking there, period. 8
Right.
homes, and there's only maybe one spot.
Right.
So how do we address that there with 8 homeowners?
Well, that's a unique issue with you guys. I think if you guys are respectful to the entrance and exit of Secret Cove there, I think that's the biggest issue. And you guys really have no parking unless it's in the driveway or across the sidewalk. That's a horrible, their cul-de-sac's horrible.
How about you, Gene? You probably have years of work into this. What do you
I have no
think?
comment.
Sorry?
I have no comment.
You have no research, anything?
There was a study and the committee put together. Minutes should be in the files.
And what was the recommendation?
There was no recommendation made, only suggestions. And basically, the committee was disbanded.
And what were the suggestions?
They were doing alternate, I think was the only thing that they talked about.
By day of the week, by month?
I don't remember.
Don't recall.
And what would be your suggestion if you were still on the board?
I have no problem in Osprey at this time. We allow the neighbors to park on our spare queue. And as far as queuing up on the weekends, that's the only time that we really have any issues on Osprey around the end of the cul-de-sac.
And if you had an emergency vehicle that was summoned to your house? do you
No
feel
problem.
like they would have any issues?
Nope, they have ingress and egress.
No issue assessing your home?
Correct.
Okay.
So we have never had an issue in our cul-de-sac, but if we go to parking, and they do, I know, I can see that all the homes across the street, because that's all they're parking there, they're gonna be coming in and parking that one empty spot there, which they've done when they've had events and whatever, and it did happen once, that we did have, and the firemen had to walk.
And do you think we need to do anything? And what would you do if you were here?
But it's gonna be hard, because then the only one spot that we're gonna have for 8 of us is gonna be taken up by the ones across the street.
Yeah, there is a unique situation there, and that it's just,
But we've got 1,040 other homes to discuss besides Secret Cove. So for us to say it doesn't affect Secret Cove and leave.
I'm not on
leave it an
Secret
issue.
Cove, I'm not on Secret Cove, so I'm on Scottish Pines.
Scottish
But what I'm
Pines,
saying is, if you're gonna do a month or whatever, it's gonna be so hard for,
So, I'm sorry, pardon me for a second, sir. What would be your
It's gonna be
suggestion, what's your
so-
suggestion there?
I don't know. I mean, right now, we all respect each other, everybody parks We park in our driveway and I park whatever.
I'm not
We
talking
have
about
one
you
car
and your next door neighbor.
outside.
How about the rest of the community? Let's look at the big picture. How about
But
the rest of
everybody
the-
pretty much there is pretty much respectful, except maybe for one homeowner at the stop sign that parks 2 cars, and
Right.
then the one at the other end. But everybody else on that street, we really don't have an issue
So,
with parking
okay.
there or on the
So for the-
cul-de-sac.
for the
But I
enti-
think that if we add in that you can only park on that one side of the street, then those neighbors are gonna be forced to take whatever spot is in the cul-de-sac. And then some of us are not gonna have a parking spot.
Okay, so for the entire North Shore complex, monthly alternates on the street parking, no changes from the way it is today, no night parking, no street parking, which of those 4 things would you pick?
Even with suggestions that we've done from years before, it hasn't worked. It might work for 1 or 2 days, and then people go back to it and says, oh, screw it, I'll do whatever I want. It's my street, and I pay my dues and whatever, and I'm gonna do whatever. I haven't seen that much of an issue on some of the streets blocked. The only where I see it is when school time starts over here, during the school time, or at the gate by where the school bus pickup is where I see a lot of cars that double park and park even in between the gates.
Well, we hear it constantly, that parking is an issue. Sorry, sir, you're gonna say something?
If parking is an issue, if you do the alternative side, they're cutting your parking spots in half.
Right.
So I'm a little concerned that we're gonna have nowhere for people to park, and
Exactly.
that's gonna become a kind of a rally cry. I'm not saying I'm against it.
Yeah, where would you park if we had no overnight parking?
I don't know, that's another issue. I mean, I don't know that there is a good answer for this. I don't have enough
Do
data.
you have more than 2 cars in your household?
No.
So could you park the 2 cars in your driveway?
I have no problem, I park in my garage.
Oh, okay,
I'm
good,
by myself.
good. Oddly enough, the way it was intended.
Yeah, I'll lease out my parking spots, kidding, but,
Yeah.
I'm afraid that, without enough data to know how big an issue this is, how many.
It's a pretty big issue. I mean, we're challenged all the time. We don't have all the results of the survey in, but it came in as one of the biggest issues that we're challenged to try and rectify from the survey, which is still compiling data. Go ahead, Chuck, and we don't want to spend much more time on this.
All right, just, so the overnight parking thing doesn't seem like it would solve the emergency vehicle thing, because if people are allowed to park during the day,
Right.
then it doesn't solve it, right? As far as like removing half of the spots, the whole point is to not have people parking across from each other, so you're not really removing half the spots, because, if you can't have people parking across from each other, then half the spots would be gone anyways, right?
Right.
Because you can only have, so many, so if it's,
No, it's absolutely. If one side of the street can have parking at all, that's half your spots are gone.
but it's not if you say nobody's allowed to park across from each other, right? Like if the.
That would be better, but then it's hard to regulate that because.
All right,
hard
but
to
what I'm
enforce.
saying is.
Who was there first kind of situation.
All right, but what I'm saying is, like, if you're not really losing half the spots, because half the spots aren't technically usable, because they would force you to park across from somebody.
No,
So then
that's a
that-
different.
But
I
people-
see that as a different thing.
People become proprietary of their location, so when you start parking in front of their cars, and some people will park by the mailbox and the mailman refuses to deliver mail because you blocked it, and it happens all the time, you get a little note the next day that your mail wasn't delivered because somebody was parked there, or somebody parks a little bit on your grass or runs over your sprinklers, I've seen it. Then you're gonna see a lot of issues where homeowners are gonna be fighting with each other, and there's gonna be a lot of damage going on, because then people are gonna start getting vindictive.
And then another point of information is Eagle Creek now has no parking on the street at all. I think Stony Brook has no overnight parking. So other communities have found this to be an issue. We've probably been talking about this for 6-7 months.
The office gets phone calls from residents because they don't like their neighbor,
Parking.
left, right, or across the street, parking in front of their house.
Mhm.
And they expect us to tell them, don't park there.
Yeah.
But we don't have that control.
Yeah, we're almost in a no-win situation, but somehow we gotta come up with the best solution. And somebody's auction's gonna be good no matter what, what's gonna happen. I mean, the development is the development, we're stuck with a bad case here now, we just gotta figure out the best way, the least intrusive way of doing it.
So, and then we don't want to come up with something, Mike, that we can't enforce. Because then it's a futile effort.
Right.
So whatever we come up with, we're gonna have to publish, add to our regulations, notice, and then we have to enforce it.
And the other thing that we were asking you about was your recommendation for school for out here. You started to comment on that, but we didn't get you to finish.
parking for the clubhouse. If they're not using the facility, they're not gonna, I mean, they shouldn't be parking at all. I mean, this is for people that are gonna come and use the facility at certain hours. I mean, if they come there at 8 o'clock and the school's, you know, in session or, you know, they're picking up or dropping off and all the parking spaces are filled up because they wanna go talk to the teacher or make sure little Johnny or Jane gets into school okay, and, you know, then they're negating the people that are legitimately coming up here to exercise or to conduct business.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what this, and that's what the parking spaces are for, to conduct business at whatever time they choose to come up here. Not school business, there's a parking lot for school business.
Oddly enough, Mike, your recommendation is spot on to Ramona's, what she said while you were outside the room. So we're gonna have to publish that parking here is for,
I just don't see why a person, like if they wanna go drop their kid off for school and they're a resident, why they shouldn't be able to park here. Like it's their parking spot just as much as any.
Yeah, but they're conducting business at the school, not the community. So if you wanted to come up here and work out, Chuck, and that person parked there just before you did, and they carted Johnny and Jill off to the school, and now you're, well, where am I gonna park?
I completely understand like the
You see what I'm
problem. I completely understand that, like, it's a give or take, somebody's not gonna get a spot. But I just feel like if they're a resident, they should be able to use the parking spot as they choose, you know.
but Chuck, we don't have enough parking for
Yeah, I
people
mean,
that have
I
to
get it, I'm
conduct
just,
business and
that's my
exercise.
opinion, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay, anything else on parking? Yes.
What if they're in here exercising, their kids are in school, they're in here exercising, it's time to get the kids, they walk out of here, walk down, get their kids, and the kids go to the playground. Why can't they park there?
Well, they can, if the kids are using the playground and you're a resident here, then that's perfectly fine.
But I mean, she's leaving her car here while
That's
she's
fine.
going down
The
to,
kids now are playing at the playground.
Yep. There's a brief.
I know, but she's been told to
Permission.
leave. Just thought I'd
Good,
bring that
okay.
up.
Anything else on parking? Let's move up to, John? Yes? Sir,
You
John?
know, we can't solve anything here today because there's multiple issues here. There's no parking here. That's an issue. There's no ability to park in the streets, no ability to park in the driveways, and no ability to park here.
Right.
That's part of the bigger problem. We need an expanded lot here. How do we do that? We need to come up with, again,
Well, it doesn't matter how big the lot gets, you can remove
Well,
the
it's
baseball
true.
field here.
It's true.
Because everyone in the North Shore, Moss Park, Savannah Pines, they're gonna see more parking, they're gonna come right here and they're gonna park right there, regardless if they're a resident or not. The fact is that we have limited access, and the access right now is to conduct business in this building, if they're here, or at the tennis court, at the pool, or so forth and so on.
You know, Mike, we don't wanna do it, but if we have to hook a few cars, it's just like coupons. People are gonna get the hint.
Here's a possible solution. So if you look in the morning, see how many people regularly go into the gym during what would be considered school hours, and say if there's 10 people that are regularly in there, maybe mark 12 spots from this time to this time, these are gym spots only, and then you're not prohibiting, because it's not like every single one of those spots gets taken up by a person who wants to go to the gym in the morning. There's gonna be a certain number of people that want that, and then there's gonna be empty spots. So maybe we have certain spots that just say gym only during these hours, or even all the time. And then maybe a couple like, office spots, and then the rest of the spots will be open to the people that wanna drop their kids off.
Yeah.
Seems like a solution.
But like John said, once again, the property is inadequate for our needs, just like the fitness.
We gotta make do, with what we
Good.
got.
Okay, let's move on to the rec center cleaning. John, you put quite a bit of work into this. Why don't you carry the ball on that, please?
we've only got two bids for rec center cleaning, one from 2A, which is our current vendor, that uses our own equipment to do the cleaning. The price just went up to $100 a cleaning, and they do 3 times a month, so it's almost $1,200 a month for 2As.
So they haven't gone up yet.
Okay, well, so even $85 what it was 3 times a week.
11 to 12.
Mona, when was 2X here last? Were they here today?
And the other proposal was from Janpro. 2X is a, pretty much a mom and pop proposal. Janpro is a main system, bigger company, Janpro of Orlando. They got the same specs. They come in with a bid of half of 2X. And I'm always leery about half price. And so I had the guy come out here and I said, "You really think you can do this for that amount of money?" And he went through every inch of this place and even pointed out things that they would do, the 2X would not do. And they would use their own equipment. We wouldn't have to buy equipment. We wouldn't have to replace vacuums or anything else. They would use their own equipment and they would guarantee that we'd get a better job for that price at $645 a month.
Who typically pays for the chemicals?
We do.
We do. Either way?
In both,
All right.
yeah. Chemicals and supply, paper goods, things like that, we supply each. So, I mean, this looked like a pretty good deal to me. The other thing that they mentioned was that they have a process, they call it EnviroShield. For $150, they will EnviroShield this whole area, including the playground. It's good for 6 months. It's an antibacterial. It's good for 6 months for $150. And they've had tremendous success with that. So, based on the two, and based on talking with that gentleman, now, this was done back in June, and I think it was a 30-day clause on it. You have to go back to them and see if that's still good.
I have it right here, we did that already, because I anticipated that when I looked at the date, and John Molina has said, yes, it would still be good.
My recommendation is to go with Janpro. There is a 30-day out clause. Doesn't work, we can always get out of it.
Take a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept Janpro.
I second. Let me make a comment on that. I worked out this morning next door in the fitness center at 9:30. I thought 2X were here because the floor was wet, but both sanding dispensers of sanding wipes were empty. The paper towel was empty. And how many times have we asked them to check those things before they leave, right?
They checked the paper towels and let me know that we were out of one in there.
And both sanding wipes were empty.
Now, he doesn't have the key to the sanding wipes, they're only in the office. I've been checking them. The other day when I checked them, it wasn't that it was empty, it's that it's inside. So I did not check them this morning, I will look.
Well, I worked out today and 3 out of 4 of the things that we used to keep it clean were empty. I thought that was a service that should be performed by a janitorial service. And frankly, John, if you picked, what's the name of the company?
Janpro.
Janpro. Let's add that to their job description, is to make sure that all of our sanding wipes and paper towels are full. That shouldn't be an office function to do. We pay a lot of money for janitorial, right?
We'd have to give them the key then to the.
Sure, well, but it's a universal key. I'm sure if they don't have it, it's just like the air conditioning key, they're all universal, so.
The other thing I liked about Janpro is it protects us because it is a written signed contract, start date, end date, and everything else. But like just kind of.
Good, any other discussion? All in favor of switching from 2X to Janpro? Aye? That's 4-0. Ramona? Okay. Jennifer has to leave soon. Do you have any business for Jennifer from FSR's standpoint?
We're done. I know we were just waiting on that one opinion letter from her on how to change the docks.
Okay.
I wanted to have a little more information about what, now I have, and it wasn't even a regulation that we're talking about, I wanted to gear it toward this specifically, and now I think.
And is that part of the rule? This says, and it says amending rules and regulations. Is that part of the rules and regulations, the ARB update, or is there something else that we've asked the attorney?
But it's not even a rule to begin with, the decals, it's a new thing.
Right, but in order to get that into the current rules and regs, that was the question. What is that procedure?
As opposed to the governing docs, not, and the rules and regs.
They're in the governing docs.
the sheet that you just handed me.
This.
No, well, this is separate from the thing, what I thought we were talking about was the parking and the towing,
This
not
one.
this. Yes,
This needs to become a rules and reg.
right, and the whole rules and regs, that's what I was asking you earlier, where do I find them? Are they on the internet? Do you have them in a book? That's what I
Well,
need.
they're a part of the document, they're a part
So
of the governing documents, they are,
That's the only place they are.
that's the only
Okay.
place I've seen it.
Are you talking about the
They're not on the
CCNRs that have
internet
been
or-
updated?
Pardon?
The CCNRs?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right, so the CCNRs have been updated since, so they wouldn't be part of the.
Governing docs.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
mean, they
can't,
would
that's-
be, there's an updated version of them, I believe.
That's why I figured there have to be somewhere, I just,
Yeah,
that's
'cause
what I'm
I
trying,
think
where
the
are
old,
they?
I think
Yeah,
the
where
previous
does that
board
reside?
changed them
They should be in.
not too long ago.
I mean, if we have them, they would have been uploaded to the internet.
Is it CC, what are the
bylaws.
rules? The ones that had
Bylaws.
like the, maybe I'm speaking wrong, the ones that had the fence, what the fence looked like and the.
That's
Architectural
These
plan.
are
No, there was
APC,
something, there's something else.
architectural planning criteria, the APC
APC,
document.
that's what I was thinking of. But there was something, yeah,
But
maybe that's
if
the
you
one.
look at section 10, or Article 10, whichever it is, that's where all the rules are listed.
Right,
They wanna
and that would just
add
be an
parking.
additional, right, but that, I wanted to know how the residents even knew about decals in the first place. So that piece of paper that you have written, that they would, that obviously it can't go into the governing docs right away, where is that gonna be put?
That's my question
Okay,
to you.
well, it can't be in the governing doc, if you wanna, obviously if you wanna implement it right away, it can't be implemented right away. Is there any rule and regulation, so you have no other rule and regulation, so for example, where is this kept, the compliance guidelines? Is that its own thing, like how do
Mhm.
residents see this, and it's on the website?
Mhm.
Okay,
Gene, do you have anything to add? Because you were on the board when you guys passed that. You have the most information on that stuff. You can
Yes.
answer all those questions.
Past what?
Decals for the cars and getting all that stuff. What
So, well, that's what I was-
where is this stuff at?
But decals for the cars didn't become
That,
Yeah, they've had them for
a
years.
rule, it was just. you
Like
get
3 years.
decal.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago.
but it's not in writing anywhere then?
I believe there was a policy put together, and the policy outlined the decals and the process.
But maybe it never got adopted, you think?
If the policy was presented, there should be a motion and a copy of the document in the minutes when the policy was approved.
And there was a policy book put together with all the policies in there. Where is the book?
Good question, that's what I'm asking.
There was a book put in because everything was
Are you-
put
I'm
in.
sorry,
Yeah.
let me ask you politely. Are you familiar with the book that they are referring to?
No.
Okay. Who has the book?
That's-
I'm sorry?
It was in the
I would
office.
have
It
to
was
look.
kept in the office with all the documents. It was a policy book, and all the policies will be there to avoid this issue, so that in the future, if anything happened, and any new board member that came on, they would look at it. That was done before Maria was here, that was done before Kathy Lane was here.
So theoretically, it could still be in there.
That's I can't imagine there's not some policies for.
Because that was the reason why we decided that we voted, and we wanted a book put in there for that reason, because sometimes the ARB came in and they wanted to look something up, sometimes a board member wasn't around, they can go in and look at this policy book and look at it and figure it out. That's why it was said, the policy book has to go, all policies go in there.
I agree.
What happened to that book? I don't know.
How do we have policies that are not available to residents? I mean, who have to comply with it, so.
Yeah, but they were supposed to be all uploaded and put on files and put up on the message
I don't want
board.
to have people complying.
Well,
so
they
it's gotta be
should have
done.
been
Well, it
on-
could be in the storage room, because that back room was cleaned out and made room for all those files.
Sure, that's a pretty important book.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. Hey,
Thank you, that's my point.
good. Hey, Ramona, Jennifer told me she's been waiting for a survey for about a month. Where can she get a survey for the community?
I don't know that we have a survey document. The big one on the wall.
We gotta have a survey, Jane.
It should be John Baker.
One on the wall, yeah.
John Baker should be.
Yeah, and they're in the documents. You've got all of the parcels outlined with all of the survey descriptions.
You've seen the big map in my office.
Yeah.
I had a
I'm
thing-
gonna go take a picture of it then and see if that's sufficient, I'll zoom in.
There's a county one that's like a giant one.
That's
That's like the
probably-
entire community. So I know,
Yeah,
I
that's
saw,
what I-
somebody,
that one-
somebody
That's what
gave me
I
a
need.
CD of it that I loaned to look at some stuff.
Oh, do you think you still have the CD?
I don't, they just loaned it to me to look at it. I might have the file, cause it was a PDF. I can look and see if I have it. I don't know that I do though. But it was like a giant file. I mean, it was,
The only-
Yeah, it's humongous,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only problem with the one in the office,
Yeah, we apparently,
excuse me, is that if the streets aren't labeled and
Yeah, it's
whatnot,
not-
that's the problem, but it gives you the information, it gives you the
it won't be
survey.
deal.
the one I
don't
have
think
has
it's
like the
detailed enough.
floodplains and
That's the one that I'm looking for, yes.
Alright,
Cause I need to see the
I'll
overlay.
see if,
of the
I don't know that I
floodplain.
have it, but I can find out, and if not, I can ask the person if they can give me a copy of it again.
Super, that would help a lot.
Thank you.
If you don't have Jennifer's email address, send it to me and I'll send it to her. Okay? And we'll send a copy to the Loma Association.
Yes,
too.
you have it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay?
I don't know that I'll be able to email it, it's a huge file.
Even if we have to, I'll
Give it like a
pick it up
zip or
and burn
something.
it or something.
Yeah, I'll FedEx it.
And the only other comment in the management report, I know that Jennifer was gonna provide a policy for the record request.
Which is why, another reason why I wanted to see how policies were kept for the community, so it can conform to whatever that is. So, yeah, new policy should be however we're doing it, or whatever policies we have.
Right, so
So-
we'll look and see.